After I got pregnant, I kept working. But the night before I was about to land a huge client, my boss's assistant, Tiffany, tried to fire me. But right before I could celebrate, Tiffany, my boss's assistant, had the audacity to come after me. Her words had cut sharper than any blade. "You're throwing up too much. Bathroom breaks are excessive. I have to fire you." Rage bubbled inside me. I stormed down the hall, heels clicking against the marble floors, and burst into Aldrich's office, my husband, my partner in business, my supposed confidant. He looked up from his papers, calm, almost too calm. "Company policy allows only 5 bathroom breaks a day," he said, sliding a crisp termination letter across his mahogany desk. "You took 10. Tiffany has every right. You're pregnant, Serena. Just stay home and rest." My chest tightened. My eyes fell to the corner of his couch and froze. A corner of a delicate lace thong peeked out from beneath the cushions. His betrayal was unmistakable. I didn't say a word. I slapped the letter across his face and stormed out. My pulse thundered in my ears as I stepped onto the street, the city sounds muted around me. My hand shook as I dialed our fiercest competitor. "Do you limit how many times employees can use the bathroom?" I asked when Daniel picked up, my voice eerily calm. "If not, I'll bring my client to you tomorrow." There was a long pause. "Serena, are you serious?" His voice betrayed shock. "I'm serious," I repeated, steady, unwavering. "Evergreen Holdings will be in your hands tomorrow. Sign here, and you'll become the top company in Northwood." His voice softened. "Are you having problems with Aldrich? Is this about him? Everyone knows you carry every major account for his company. You sold your parents' apartment to fund his startup. You've pushed yourself to the edge, even collapsed from morning sickness, to close this deal." I froze, stunned. How much did he know? I forced a bitter smile, swallowing the mix of humiliation and anger swelling inside me. Yes, everyone knew how much I'd sacrificed, how much I had loved Aldrich. I had once believed we were building an empire side by side, that our dreams were intertwined. But dreams didn't stop someone from cheating, from handing you a termination letter with one hand and betrayal with the other. I remembered the early days, the city apartment with peeling paint, the long nights working as students, the scrappy determination to carve out our own space. We'd built this empire together, brick by brick. And 6 months ago, when I told him I was pregnant, his hands had trembled with excitement. But when I suggested marriage, he had hesitated before finally speaking, his words etched with ambition, not love. "Once we secure Evergreen Holdings, our company will be number 1. Don't you want to walk down the aisle at our peak, Serena? Let's marry after the signing." I had agreed. Yesterday, Evergreen Holdings had confirmed. The signing was imminent, but in my excitement and exhaustion, I had collapsed outside the office and landed in the hospital. And now, when I tried to return, I was locked out, blacklisted by the very man I had trusted. Inside the office, I found a familiar in turn to sneak me in. My desk had been trashed, photos of us defaced with black marker. And Tiffany, she sat there, scrolling her phone, nails bright red, smug, as she presented months of bathroom break logs like a weapon. Surveillance footage, new company policy, no more than 5 bathroom breaks during work hours, each under 5 minutes, Tiffany announced, eyes gleaming with triumph. "You've gone a dozen times. How do we know you're working?" I blinked, stunned. Since when had this rule existed? I stormed into Aldrich's office. He looked up, expression flat, voice clipped. "Tiffany was headhunted from a major corporation. She brings experience. We follow her rules." I felt heat rising in my cheeks. "I'm pregnant, Aldrich. My trips aren't laziness. They're morning sickness and stress." He waved me off, dismissive. "Weak constitution. Don't use it as an excuse. Today, I'll allow it, but in the future, diarrhea claims won't be ignored." How can I manage the company? My face burned with fury. My body shook as I opened my mouth to argue, but Tiffany entered, phone in hand, ready to deliver the final blow. "Company policy says pregnant employees should be terminated," she said sweetly. "I only didn't fire you out of respect for Aldrich, but you've broken the rules too many times. How can I lead my team if you defy policy?" I stared at her, icy. "I secured Evergreen Holdings while pregnant. I'm a VP here. These rules weren't approved by me. They are invalid." Aldrich slammed his hand on the desk, frowning. "Enough. I set the rules. You're fired. Stop pulling rank, Serena." "Tiffany, she's violating protocol." Shock coursed through me. This was the man who had once protected me, who had dismissed disrespectful employees without a second thought. I remembered how he had proudly defended me. Serena is my wife and business partner. Disrespecting her is disrespecting me. Our company has no room for employees who disrespect women. Those words had gone viral, earned us accolades, and cemented our status as industry icons. And now, he tolerated this petty assistant undermining everything we had built together. I inhaled, forcing myself to stand tall despite the betrayal cutting through me like ice. The fight wasn't over. Not yet. God only knew where this would end. Tiffany had been openly disrespectful, discriminating against me for being pregnant, treating me as if my dedication and success meant nothing. I drew in a deep breath, bracing myself to speak, when a flash of something absurd and shocking caught my eye, a small piece of underwear embroidered with delicate snowflakes, tucked carelessly under the couch. It wasn't mine. My stomach turned with a mix of nausea and disbelief. My legs wobbled as I looked up and found Tiffany staring at me, a defiant glint in her eyes. It was hers. The words I had rehearsed evaporated. My fingers fumbled for my ID badge, and without thinking, I hurled it onto the couch. "You want to fire me?" I said, voice low and dangerous.
Fine.
"But I expect my severance package according to regulations. If I don't see the money by tonight, I won't hesitate to take this to arbitration. And believe me, I won't be the one losing face or paying fines." I paused, letting the weight of my next words settle. Also, I landed the Evergreen Holdings deal. "You fire me, you can forget about it." I watched their faces shift through a series of colors: green, white, disbelief, and I allowed myself a sneer before turning on my heel and walking out. The first thing I did was call Daniel. There was no way I was letting Aldrich and his assistant reap the rewards of the work I'd poured myself into. "Whether you're doing this to spite Aldrich or not, I'm taking you seriously," Daniel said, his voice firm, earnest. "If you come, my VP position is yours. And if you're worried about managing a baby later, I can help with that too." "That won't be necessary," I said with a small smile, but for a fleeting second, I caught a hint of disappointment in his tone. "All right then. See you at the signing tomorrow," he said. I hung up and began packing. Good thing Aldrich and I weren't married, or I'd be staring down a divorce too. But the baby? I touched my belly instinctively. My eyes hardened with resolve. Better to raise this child far from a father like him. At home, a storage box in the study caught my attention. A sticky note read, "Aldrich's treasures. Please do not touch." Memories swirled. He had kept all the little things I once treasured: old water cups, hair ties, promising our son would someday see them. Tokens of our love. I had planned to cut all ties, but my hand lingered on the box. I opened it and froze. Inside wasn't my past, but a grotesque collection of toys and lubricants, messages on his open Snapchat revealing his ongoing secret communications with Tiffany. "Protecting you is what I should do," the texts read. If you hadn't helped me relieve stress, anger boiled inside me. Vision blurred, I bit back nausea and saved every chat log and video to my phone, shaking with fury. I grabbed a bag of fuzzy peaches and rubbed them over the disgusting items, a small act of defiance, a cathartic protest against betrayal. "You want to play games? Fine," I muttered to myself. My things were packed, ready to leave. The door swung open abruptly. Aldrich stepped in, pausing when he saw me with luggage, then forcing a smile. "What's wrong?" he asked, as if seeing my defiance required explanation. "I just said a few things," I said coolly. "Is that reason enough to get mad and run away?" "I'm just being professional." His smile tightened. "You're my wife. I have to be stricter for the others to follow the rules." Enough. I was done. "I bought your favorite steak tonight. We'll celebrate tomorrow, the signing." Before I could respond, Tiffany appeared behind him, correcting him with a smirk. "Aldrich, I don't like my steak medium well. Make it medium rare."
Right.
I've been busy all day and haven't eaten. A package of fish was pressed into my hands. His tone was sharp, almost commanding. "Cook it." I froze, anger and revulsion rising. I threw the fish back. "I won't cook it." His face darkened. "What's wrong with you? Pregnancy making you stupid? You embarrassed Tiffany at the office. I specially invited her here, so you could personally cook as an apology." I shook my head, trembling. Tiffany smirked. "It's okay. Serena's pregnant. Normal to be moody." Aldrich's fury intensified. He dragged me to the kitchen and locked the door. "You're not coming out until you cook dinner." Pain twisted sharply in my belly. Cold sweat drenched me as I pounded on the door. "Take me to the hospital, Aldrich. My stomach, it hurts so much."
No.
"I just asked you to cook," he said coldly. "Is that reason enough to threaten me with the baby's safety?" I kept knocking, pleading through tears, the pain blurring the line between heartbreak and physical agony. Cook if you want. Don't. Or Tiffany and I will go to that Michelin-starred place instead, Aldrich muttered, his voice heavy with frustration. I couldn't answer. Pain and nausea held me hostage. The only sound was the bang of the front door closing. Darkness swallowed me. When I awoke, I was in a hospital bed. Daniel sat nearby, relief washing over his face when he saw my eyes flutter open. I called you a dozen times, no answer, he said, voice tight. I thought Aldrich had hurt you. I gave a bitter, tired smile. The baby's fine. Just a fall. But I'm done with him. I reached for my phone, scrolling through the flood of texts and videos from Tiffany. Fury reignited. So, what if I was carrying Aldrich's child? That didn't make me powerless. Tiffany's voice echoed in the videos she sent, sugary sweet and venomous beneath the surface. You still got sent home to be a housewife, she chirped, sounding delighted with herself. Your desk and your job are mine now. Aldrich said he's sick of you always working, no fun at all. And you smell awful since you got pregnant. He prefers someone young like me. Ha ha ha. She leaned closer to the camera, twirling a strand of hair. Who knows? Maybe soon I'll be more than just his VP at work. Oh, and by the way, Aldrich said, since you're a housewife, how can you be the Evergreen project lead? Don't come to the signing tomorrow. I'll go instead. Wouldn't want them throwing up after seeing your disgusting face. I stared at her messages, my pulse strangely calm. There was no room left for pain. Only clarity. Before I could even react, Daniel's reaction thundered across the quiet hospital room. What the hell is this? His fist hit the bed rail, rattling the metal. How dare she talk to you like that? His voice cracked with fury, his eyes sharp and bloodshot. And you're not even mad? Do you still love Aldrich that much? Enough to let that trashy woman wipe her feet on you? I lifted my gaze slowly. His eyes were burning. Serena, he said, softer but hurting. If I had a wife like you, someone so capable, loyal, brilliant, I'd treasure you every single day. I'd never let you suffer like this. The confession slid out of him before he realized he'd said it. But I didn't let myself pause on it. Instead, I typed a single message to Tiffany. The garbage is all yours, but you can forget about my project. Her red receipt popped up instantly. I didn't care. When I finally looked at Daniel, I was confused. What did you just say? His jaw tightened. For a moment, vulnerability flickered in his eyes. Then he shut it away. Nothing, he muttered. I said I'm your boss. And if anyone tries to steal your project, I'll make them pay. I nodded, too exhausted to question more. The doctor prescribed strict rest to prevent a miscarriage, and I asked Daniel for 3 months of leave. He approved it immediately, insisting his driver take me home after the signing. But fate wasn't done with me yet. As I left the obstetrics department, I bumped into a couple, Aldrich and Tiffany. They were almost unrecognizable. Their skin was covered in angry red rashes, both scratching furiously as if insects crawled under their skin. When Aldrich saw me, his expression twisted with panic and something close to desperation. Serena, he snapped, rushing toward me. Did you touch anything in my study? Did you mess with something? The doctor said if they can't find the allergen, we'll keep itching like this. Only then did it click. The fuzzy peaches. The clothes. Their little celebratory outfits. I blinked innocently. I don't know. Tell me what item you're referring to, so I can try to remember. He flushed, clearly unwilling to explain. Tiffany scratched her arm so hard it bled. I pulled out my phone and brought up the saved Snapchat messages and videos. One swipe, and they were playing right in front of his face. Oh, I said coolly. You mean this bunny girl outfit? I was eating peaches yesterday. Maybe some fuzz fell on your clothes. Who knows? Aldrich's face went gray. He cursed under his breath, trembling with rage. You're insane. Spying on my computer? Recording our videos? What are you trying to do? He jabbed a finger at me, voice rising. You did this to us. And I won't let you get away with it. Get on your knees and apologize to me and Tiffany right now. And transfer the Evergreen project to her. He leaned in, eyes filled with arrogance he no longer deserved. Otherwise, the wedding is off. And you can look forward to being an unemployed single mom. Something inside me cracked. Not into pain, but into freedom. I laughed. Not a polite laugh, not a bitter one. A genuine, liberating laugh that echoed through the hospital hallway. The wedding. I repeated, still smiling. Aldrich, there was never going to be a wedding. You made sure of that. His face reddened, the rash on his neck flaring brighter. What are you talking about? We agreed. You agreed to wait until after Evergreen. I agreed, because I was a fool. I stepped closer, my voice dropping to steel. But here's what's actually going to happen. Tomorrow, I'm signing Evergreen Holdings over to Apex Industries. Daniel's company. Your competitor. Tiffany's scratching stopped. You can't do that. That's our deal. My deal. I corrected. I secured it. I negotiated every term. My contacts, my work, my sleepless nights while you two were busy in his office. I held up my phone, and if either of you tries to stop me, these videos and messages go straight to the Business Ethics Board and every industry publication in Northwood. Aldrich's hands shook. You're bluffing. You wouldn't destroy everything we built. I built, I said quietly. And I'm not destroying it. I'm taking what's mine and walking away. You can keep your company, your assistant, and your matching rashes. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Aldrich? The wedding's off because there was never going to be one. You just needed me compliant until the deal closed. I see that now. As I walked away, I heard Tiffany's voice rise in panic. She can't actually do this, right? Right, Aldrich? I didn't hear his answer. Bump perfectly. Daniel was waiting in the lobby, concern etched on his face. Are you sure you're okay to be here? He asked. The doctor said. I'm fine, I assured him. I need to close this myself. The conference room was pristine, all glass and chrome. Representatives from Evergreen Holdings were already seated. 3 executives I'd spent months courting, learning their preferences, understanding their vision. Margaret Chun, their CEO, stood when she saw me. Serena, we were told you were on medical leave. When your company sent someone else, we almost canceled. Someone else? I asked, though I knew. A Ms. Tiffany Harris. She claimed to be taking over the account. Margaret's expression was disapproving. She didn't seem to know basic details about our discussions. We were quite concerned. My phone buzzed. Aldrich, where are you? Tiffany's at Evergreen's office and they won't see her. I silenced it. I apologize for the confusion, I said smoothly. There's been a transition. I'm now Vice President of Client Relations at Apex Industries, and I'm here to finalize our partnership under this company instead. Margaret's eyebrows rose. She glanced at her colleagues, then back at me. Apex Industries? That's quite a change. The fundamentals remain the same, Daniel interjected professionally. Serena brings her expertise, her vision for your expansion, and our company's resources to support it. Nothing about the strategy changes, only the partner. For a long moment, Margaret studied us both. Then she smiled. You know, Serena, we chose to work with you, not your former company. If you believe Apex is the better fit, we trust your judgment. 3 hours later, the contracts were signed. Evergreen Holdings' $15 million account now belonged to Apex Industries, catapulting them past Aldrich's company to become Northwood's leading firm. As we celebrated with champagne, sparkling cider for me, my phone exploded with messages. Aldrich, what have you done? Aldrich, call me immediately. Aldrich, you've destroyed us both. I blocked his number. The industry blogs erupted within hours. Rising star Serena veiled defects to Apex Industries, takes Evergreen Holdings deal. Read the headlines. My phone rang constantly, reporters, former colleagues, even competitors offering opportunities. I ignored most of them. Daniel had arranged for me to work remotely during my recovery, and I focused on that, building new client strategies from my apartment. 2 weeks later, Daniel appeared at my door with takeout and a careful expression. You don't have to let me in, he said, but I thought you might want company that isn't work-related. I hesitated, then stepped aside. We ate in comfortable silence until he finally spoke. At the hospital, I said something I shouldn't have. I remember. I meant it. He set down his chopsticks. But I also know you're dealing with a lot. I'm not trying to pressure you or take advantage. I want you to know that you have options. In work and in life. I studied him, really looked at him for the first time. Daniel Liu had always been professional, respectful, a worthy competitor who never crossed ethical lines. He'd built his company through merit, not manipulation. Thank you, I said quietly, for everything. The job, the respect, not asking questions I'm not ready to answer. The baby's father doesn't deserve you, he said simply. But the baby deserves a mother who's happy and secure. That's all I care about. Something warm unfurled in my chest. Not love, not yet, but possibility. Before he left, he paused at the door. Serena, you're the strongest person I know. Don't let anyone make you forget that. 3 months passed. My bump grew, my morning sickness faded, and Apex Industries thrived. I'd brought in 2 more major accounts, and Daniel had promoted me to senior vice president. I was leaving the office late one evening when I encountered Aldrich in the parking garage. He looked terrible, rumpled suit, dark circles, the desperate edge of someone watching everything crumble. Serena. He blocked my path to my car. Please. We need to talk. No, we don't. The company's struggling. Evergreen was supposed to stabilize us. Without it, we're facing consequences of poor leadership and workplace discrimination. I finished. Yes, I heard. Tiffany's facing a lawsuit from 3 former employees for harassment. Your company culture is under investigation. His face crumpled. I made mistakes. I know that. But we built that company together. You can't just let it die. I built that company. I corrected, my voice hard. You took credit, promoted your mistress, and fired me for being pregnant. I owe you nothing. What about our child? He demanded. Don't I have rights? You gave up those rights when you locked me in a kitchen while I begged you to take me to the hospital. I stepped around him. My lawyer will contact you about a parenting plan. You'll have supervised visitation if you want it. But you and we're done. You're with Daniel now, aren't you? His voice turned ugly. That's what this was always about. You wanted to trade up. I turned back, and he actually flinched at my expression. Daniel respects me. He values my work. He's never made me feel less than human. I placed a hand on my belly. This baby will grow up seeing what healthy partnerships look like, not whatever toxic mess you call love. Serena. Goodbye, Aldrich. I drove away and didn't look back. My daughter was born on a clear October morning, 7 pounds and furiously indignant about leaving the womb. I named her Elena, bright light, because that's what she was in the darkness I'd escaped. Daniel visited the hospital with flowers and a teddy bear, respectfully waiting until I invited him into the room. She's beautiful, he said softly, peering at Elena's scrunched face. She has your determination already. I laughed, exhausted and happy. She screamed for 40 minutes straight. The nurses are placing bets on her future as an opera singer or trial lawyer. Smart money's on CEO. He smiled, then grew serious.
How are you?
Really? Tired.
Sore.
Scared out of my mind. I looked down at Elena, who'd finally fallen asleep. But also free. For the first time in years, I feel like I can breathe. Over the next months, Daniel became a constant presence. Not pushing, not demanding, just there. He'd bring dinner when I was too exhausted to cook, hold Elena when I needed to shower, celebrate her small milestones as if they were his own. You don't have to do this, I told him one night as he rocked Elena to sleep. She's not your responsibility. I know, he said simply, but you're important to me, and she's part of you. 6 months after Elena's birth, Aldrich's company filed for bankruptcy. The news felt distant, someone else's tragedy. He tried to contact me a handful of times, but I'd maintained strict boundaries. Supervised visits he rarely showed up for, child support automatically deducted, no direct communication. I didn't hate him anymore. I didn't feel anything. One evening, as I was closing my laptop after a successful client call, Daniel knocked on my door with Elena's favorite dumplings and an unusually nervous expression. I need to tell you something, he said as we ate. And I don't want you to feel pressured or obligated in any way. My heart picked up speed. Okay, I'm in love with you. The words came out in a rush. I have been for a while. Maybe even before everything fell apart with Aldrich. I don't know. But I see you every day, watch you be an amazing mother and brilliant professional, and I love you. I love Elena. I want to be part of your lives if you'll have me. He held up a hand before I could respond. But if you're not ready, or if you never want that, I understand. I won't disappear. I won't make things awkward. Your happiness matters more than my feelings. I stared at him, this good, patient man who'd given me space to heal, who'd never asked for anything in return, who'd loved my daughter as if she were his own. I'm not ready, I said honestly, and watched his face fall. Not for grand declarations or big commitments. I'm still figuring out who I am outside of Aldrich's shadow. I understand, but I continued. I could be ready. Someday. If you're willing to wait while I figure things out. His smile was sunrise breaking. I can wait. 2 years later, I stood in Apex Industries' executive boardroom as Daniel announced my promotion to Chief Operating Officer. Elena was in the back with my assistant, building block towers and cheerfully destroying them, her laughter punctuating the applause. After the meeting, Margaret Chen from Evergreen Holdings approached me. I heard Aldrich's company was acquired by a consulting firm, she mentioned. They're restructuring completely. I heard that too. I replied neutrally. He reached out to us last month, trying to pitch a partnership. She shook her head. We declined. Some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. I thought about that as Daniel and I walked Elena to the park that afternoon. Aldrich had sent a card on her second birthday, belated, generic, signed only with his name. She'd stared at it with the vague interest she gave to junk mail, then returned to her toys. Do you ever regret it? Daniel asked as we watched Elena chase pigeons. Walking away from what you built?
No.
The answer came easily. I didn't walk away from what I built. I took it with me. My skills, my relationships, my integrity, that's what I built. The company was just a building. He took my hand, a gesture that had become natural over months of careful dating, of letting trust grow organically. What about us? He asked. Any regrets there? I squeezed his fingers. None. Elena ran back to us, demanding to be lifted. Daniel swung her up onto his shoulders, and her delighted squeals drew smiles from strangers passing by. We looked like a family. We felt like one. That night, after Elena was asleep, I pulled out the box of legal documents I'd been saving. The paternity test Aldrich had demanded early on, 98.9% match, as if I'd have lied. The child support agreements, the termination letter I'd kept as a reminder. I fed them into the shredder, one by one, watching the past turn to confetti. Daniel found me there, sitting cross-legged on the floor surrounded by paper strips. What's all this? He asked. Letting go, I said simply. He settled beside me, wrapping an arm around my shoulders. Of him. Of the version of myself that needed his approval, that believed I was only valuable as part of his story. I leaned into Daniel's warmth. I'm writing my own story now. And, he prompted gently, what happens next in this story? I turned to face him, this man who'd waited patiently while I healed, who'd loved my daughter without reservation, who'd seen me at my worst and never flinched. I think, I said slowly, it's time for a new chapter. His eyes lit with hope. Yeah. I kissed him softly. One where I don't just survive. I thrive. Through the window, the city lights blazed, Northwood at night, full of possibility and promise. Somewhere out there, Aldrich was rebuilding from ruins of his own making. Tiffany had moved to another city after the lawsuit settled, and I was here in my home, with my daughter asleep down the hall and a good man beside me, ready for whatever came next. I had reclaimed myself. Everything else was just bonus. Epilogue. 3 years later, I stood at a podium accepting the Business Leader of the Year award. Elena, now 5, sat in the front row between Daniel, my husband of 1 year, and Margaret Chin. She waved frantically when she caught my eye, nearly dropping the ice cream Daniel had bribed her with for good behavior. This award represents more than professional success, I said to the crowded ballroom. It represents every woman who's been told she's too much, too ambitious, too pregnant, too demanding. Every person who's had to choose between dignity and security. I found Daniel's eyes, warm and proud. 3 years ago, I lost a job I thought defined me. But what I actually lost was an anchor that had been drowning me. And what I found was infinitely more valuable, my own voice, my own strength, and a family built on respect rather than obligation. The audience applauded. Cameras flashed. Tomorrow, the industry blogs would dissect my speech, analyze my rise, perhaps mention the scandal that had catalyzed it all. But tonight, I drove home with my husband and daughter, argued about bedtime stories, and fell asleep in a guest bedroom because Elena insisted on a family sleepover in the master bed. And in the morning, I woke to Elena's sticky kiss on my cheek and Daniel making terrible pancakes, and I thought, this is what winning looks like. Not revenge, not vindication, just peace.